of a new era, the inception of a great nation, we stood at the front lines of victory, watching keenly as the Union Jack was pulled down to pave way for the symbol of peace, love, and unity. This was the first liberation, a chance at rebirth and the absolution of all past transgressions. Nothing mattered except hope. Hope is not just the feeling of expectation, but the feeling that all those expectations will come alive in our lifetime. Hope is what tied us together as we danced in unity and prayed, "O God of all creation, bless this, our land and nation." Hope was seated amongst us as we discussed the new opportunities awaiting us, and hope did not abandon her children, but was their shield and defender at a time when she was all they had. Our great land flourished with promise, and the fight for independence was now a prominent story, part of a rich history that would mark the foundation of Kenya. We stood on the shoulders of great men and women that made it possible for us to enjoy this freedom, and indeed plenty was found within our borders. This was Kenya's time for an upward turn, a time to make the journey worth it. Let one and all arise, they said. It was not to be, as the country entered a period of social stratification that led to much bigger problems that have plagued us until today. The dark days previously cast upon us were now once again hanging over our heads when we found new ways to ensure we were further divided than when our colonizers left us. An era characterized with political repression and revolutionary terror was to befall the great nation of Kenya, and many fallen heroes to go down with its tumbling walls. Draped in fear and uncertainty, we all recalled a time when we sang, "And our homeland of Kenya, heritage of splendor, firm may we stand to defend." But the joy of that song had long left the ones for who it was intended. Thrown into a whirlwind of bad governance and corruption, the country was at a standstill, with everyone seeking answers and once again looking to the promises of those early days when our country was born. The second liberation in Kenya happened when some brave leaders took it upon themselves to fight the good fight. They stood up for Kenyans who could not speak up on these matters. They fought to open the democratic space and to start the trend of demanding accountability from sitting governments. We all remember Saba Saba as a time that started this dialogue. These brave leaders suffered at the hands of power along those lonely corridors of justice that favored only but a few. Some were detained, tortured, and forced to denounce their mission, but upon release continued to fight for the freedoms we enjoy today. Freedoms we cannot take for granted. Freedoms that govern how we live our lives today and the comforts we enjoy. Freedoms that bind us together like that promise made in those early days. Today, we celebrate 54 years of self-governance and independence. We have never been closer to square one. We have gone back in history to a time filled with fear and uncertainty. Corruption is at an all-time high, with ministries being robbed clean of funds meant to develop the nation. Misappropriation of taxpayers' money is nothing new, and our leaders in power have openly told the public that they do not know what to do with corruption in their government. Dear Kenyans, don't you want answers? Isn't it high time your government started working for you? We as NASA want to walk with you into the future and deliver you into the third liberation that we all so desperately seek. A future where each Kenyan can contribute to a greater good for the country. A future with a clear development agenda, complete with accountability measures. A future where the economy grows not just in figures and jargon, but its impact felt by all. A future where we build cohesion so that each man, woman and child will feel included in this development we speak of. Because, as we have seen in the last few years, growth without redistribution is not development, and progress is not reserved for a few special people in our nation. It belongs to you. One man will lead us into this time that will see reforms in education, revolutionize ICT, upgrade our agricultural systems, and welcome developments in infrastructure so that we put Kenya on the map to compete on a global platform with other leading countries for better opportunities. I'm Kenny Luguzetu. We are heading into Nane Nane. On the 8th of August 2017, our country deserves a change. Our country deserves a makeover. And it starts tonight. Fellow Kenyans, you have been led off course long enough. And now our man, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, will get us back on track.
You want me to move closer? Thank you very much. All protocols observed. I want to say that we've just seen what is bedeviling the current situation. In agriculture, there are Kenyans who are ready to rediscover production. They are doing it on their own. But we have failed as a country. From a country that had surplus food to a country of deficits. Even as we talk now, we have no ugali on the table. And that is for sure. Our priority is to rediscover productivity. We must go back to the farmer, the one we just saw in Kisii. We can produce food in our farms. And we can only do that if we eliminate the myriads of middlemen in between marketing and production. And even in the delivery of services that support productivity at the farm level. We need to support the farmer through provision of irrigation, financing, marketing, storage of our food. At the world level, where Kenyans live, we need to have food stores, we need to have silos, we need to keep our food, and we've got to support marketing for the same. We cannot continue to ignore value addition. You just seen that farmer, and it is quite great that that farmer comes from a county that really struggles to produce food irrespective of what we do as a government. We must say echo to the Gusii producers. They kept feeding Nairobi, even when we have nothing from Rift Valley that used to have plenty of food. Agriculture must be allowed to feed the country. And we can only do that if we move forward with a clearly focused policy and working together with the counties. I want to say that we will ensure that healthcare is also addressed. As we talk now, there is serious disharmony in the health sector because the center has refused to empower the counties to move forward on the provision on healthcare. We would like free healthcare for all Kenyans. Within reach, you've just seen the madam there saying she's wondering how to take her loved ones to hospital. They die because there are no ambulances. We must provide ambulances at the closest possible range for people to be taken to for quality attention in our hospitals. We also need to look at and redeem the confidence that the health workers had in their profession. We cannot continue to be at war with our own doctors. We cannot afford to be at war with the nurses who must be with us 24 hours. There must be a solution to that problem. We must focus on training them, giving them opportunities to further their training. We are all aware that doctors don't engage in matatu business like some of us do. They are just in hospitals 24/7 to save our lives. you won't see another mama crying if we could pay attention to the issues we are raising. We would like to proceed and support proper devolution. We've committed ourselves to devolve 45% of the revenues of the previous year. This is meant to assure that services can actually be provided as proximate to Kenyans as is practical. Because you cannot continue to have monies in Nairobi so that the demand-driven, not the supply-driven system only looks at the vote head and decide what to buy. The end result is that you have got medicines for the wrong things in the wrong places. They'll bring you obesity medicines in rural areas where we can't have enough food. We are saying that we would also like to cover the full population with the proper insurance cover, not a situation where our competitors find NHIF at 160 and raise it to 500. End result, it's of no use. It cannot be afforded by the general public. We have got to look at proper insurance that will cover the whole population, and that will have to be subsidized by the state. Because we all need to live, and we must live now. I want to say that that is going to be mandatory, and we are going to pay attention, serious attention to those issues. We would also like to work with the county government to design a national primary health care policy that will cover, ensure that all households are then covered with primary health care. We understand the diseases that are now emerging, the lifestyle diseases, but we first eliminate as well the primary health care. So once we've devolved the resources that we need to devolve, county governments will focus on what Kenyans expected them to do. We said when we were promulgating the constitution that we, the people of Kenya, give unto ourselves the constitution, which we did, understanding it full well and being an understanding that we come from different cultures. And we want to use that as a strength. We believe devolution is what we set out to embrace, and we need to strengthen it. I want to assure you that we will do that as a government. My brother Musalia forgot that even in the education sector, we intend to ensure that counties pay attention to the infrastructure in the primary schools and the secondary schools. We will also ensure that the question of teachers is addressed. We have got a serious shortage of teachers, and yet, come to think of it, they are unemployed for more than 10 years, even after graduating. Yet we have got shortage, that particular shortage. I just wanted to mention that. But I want to also continue and say that we need to provide clean drinking water to every Kenyan. It does not matter where he is. That can be sorted out. We cannot continue to provide water pans for people to fetch water to come and drink. Give them clean drinking water. We can use the water pans for our animals, and we can also use it for irrigation. Irrigation is not just for areas where there are rivers. We can have water pans and use solar power to irrigate, even for one mama. Even very simple. There is enough technology around. The only challenge is that we've not been able to focus on what must be done to move our country forward. Unless we rediscover production, we cannot say there is economic growth simply because you are just building mega projects. Development must be broad-based and must start from below. Places like Turkana that have huge water aquifers, and yet you find the Turkanas having no water. This is unacceptable. We must continue to protect our water resources as we move forward, at the same time ensure there is harmony between the people and the environment. We cannot create one to wage war on the next. I think, basically, that is all I wanted to indicate. We must ensure that pesa iende. Asante sana.